These are some important properties about the cyclic group. You can just know them, but then there are no real questions asked in GATE on these points, but still it is better that you know them. No need to by heart them. If you can remember them, it is okay. Otherwise, don't take stress in remembering them. So no real questions are asked in this. I don't know if they could ask it, because we are already talking about the groups in a very high detail, and they might not touch this at this depth. They'll just ask only a few basic questions if you look at the old previous questions papers. Okay, anyway, these are important points, and for these points I will not give you the proof, because proof will be too big and which will be not required, but wherever required I'll just explain you the intuition behind it. See this, every cyclic group is an abelian group. Okay, so what do I mean by this is, if you have a cyclic group, then already the commutative properties will also be satisfied. So why should this be true? So what is abelian group? Commutative property should be satisfied, isn't it? So which means if you take two elements and if you apply A star B, where star is the operation, you should be getting that A star B is equal to B star A. Then only we can say that the group is abelian group, right? So now if you find A star B in a cyclic group, we know that in a cyclic group every element can be written as generator to the power something, isn't it? So using generator we can express every element, which means there will be a generator. Let's call it as G, and let's call it as G power n. So let's say G power n is representing A, and similarly G power m is representing B. Can I write like this? I can. The reason is, since it is a cyclic group, we know that every element in the group can be written as generator to the power something, right? And I don't care what that m and n are. Okay, now this is nothing but G power n plus m, isn't it? I can now write it as G power m into G power n, isn't it? Which means it is B into A. So now check this, A into B is finally equal to B into A when the group is cyclic. Therefore every cyclic group is abelian group. Okay, next one is, but then the converse need not be true, which means every abelian group need not be a cyclic group. Okay, so in order to become a cyclic group, we should find out a generator, at least one generator. But then in order to become a abelian group, we should find that a commutative property is satisfied in the group. But then if a group is satisfying commutative property, we cannot say that it is a cyclic group. But if the group is satisfying the cyclic property, which means every element can be expressed as a power of something, then we have shown the proof that it is going to be abelian group. Got it? Now every group of the prime order is cyclic. So what does it mean? If the number of elements in a group is equal to prime number, the order of the group is prime, then it is going to be cyclic. Yes, we can prove it, but then the proof is going to be very big, so I am not proving it. So just try to remember it. So if you have a group of prime order, then it is going to be cyclic, and we have already seen that every cyclic group is going to be abelian. Therefore we can even declare that every group of prime order is abelian. I think you understood the relation, right? So every group of prime order is going to be cyclic, and since it is cyclic, it is going to be abelian group. Therefore if you find out any group with prime order, you can directly say that it is abelian group. Why? Because it is cyclic. Okay, and next one is, every subgroup of a cyclic group is also cyclic, but the generator of the subgroup need not be same as that of the cyclic group. So if you find out the subgroup of a group, and if the original group is cyclic, then the resulting subgroup is also going to be cyclic. That is the meaning of it. Every subgroup of a cyclic group is also cyclic, but the generator of the subgroup need not be same as the generator of the cyclic group. So what does it mean? Which means, see this, let us say you have a group like this, and you have a subgroup. Now I have taken some elements from here, right? But then if you observe this, the generators for G are I and minus I, but here the generator for H is minus 1. So even though the subgroup is also a cyclic group, which means it has a generator, the generator need not be same. That is the meaning of it. It doesn't mean that it is always different. Sometimes we might get the same element and sometimes we might get a different element. Got it? Okay, which means see this, G is having I comma minus I, but then H is having 1 as the generator. Now see the fourth point. Let capital G comma star be a group of even order, then there exists at least one element A belongs to G such that A inverse equal to A. Now why should this happen is, see this, if you have even order, let me say the elements are A, B, C, D, right? And in a cyclic group, it is always true that an identity element is going to be inverse of itself. Let us say A is identity element, then A is going to be inverse of itself. Then what happens, if you try to pair up the other elements, let us say B can either have C as the inverse or D as the inverse. Why? Because in a group every element is going to have at least one inverse, right? So if you pair these two up, then one element will be remaining, and what about that element? It has to be inverse of itself. That is the meaning of it. So at least there will be one element which will be inverse of itself. That is the meaning of the point, right? The reason is simple. You have even number of elements, got it? Now identity element is going to be inverse of itself, isn't it? Now if you take out that identity element, so when is this true? In a cyclic group, identity element is going to be inverse of itself. Now if you take out that identity element, then odd number of elements are going to remain, isn't it? Now if you try to pair them up, right, then at least one element will remain. That is why at least one element should be inverse of itself. So it doesn't mean that there will be exactly one element. That is not what I am saying. There will be at least one element which is inverse of itself. Along with that, there might be other elements as well, which means C may be inverse of itself or B may be inverse of itself. And one more thing we can say is the number of elements which will be having the same inverse as itself will be odd, other than this identity element. Got it? Just see this point. Let G comma star be a group of even order, then there exists at least an element A belongs to G and A is not equal to identity element, which means other than identity element also. Why? Because identity element is already having itself as the inverse. So even if you remove identity element, there will be somewhere one element which has to be inverse of itself. The reason is simple. So why we need that element to be inverse of itself is it will not have any other element to pair up with, right? So if you have odd number of people, you can definitely have one person remaining if you just couple them up, isn't it? At least one person. Otherwise you will have odd number of people remaining. Got it? See, if you have odd number of elements here, you will always have odd number of elements remaining if you pair the remaining elements up, right? I hope you are getting the logic here. Okay, so anyway, you don't by heart these points. They are important points. Just try to remember them and use your intuition to somehow recollect if they ask it. But then most probably they will not ask this. Okay.
Hi, if you are planning to do masters, then doing masters abroad is better than doing masters in India. I'll give you all the reasons. So, first reason is, out of 1 lakh students who take GATE every year, there are only 500 seats in old IITs. So all the IITs put together have an acceptance rate of 0.5%. And universities better than IITs, they have very good acceptance rate like 30%, 40%. But all the IITs put together have an acceptance rate of 0.5%. And if you are working hard to get into IIT Bombay's ranking is 177. And IIT Roorkee's ranking is 400. If you are happy to get into IIT Roorkee, then getting into universities better than IIT Roorkee is easier compared to getting into IIT Roorkee. And looking at the salaries for computer science, for software jobs, if you have done your masters in computer science in US, the salaries are ranging from 80 lakhs per year to 1.2 crore per year. So even if you take an average of 1 crore per year, your savings will be much higher than the salaries in India. After taxes and your cost of living, you can easily save 40 to 50 lakhs per year. And in India, the maximum jobs that you get is around 30 lakhs. So your savings will be much greater than the salaries in India. And these are all the services that we provide. University shortlisting. So depending on your profile, we will shortlist what are the universities that you have to apply, and statement of purpose building, and then LOR guidance, and GRE and English test assistance, and education loan assistance. So you don't have to have any collateral, which means without any security, now you can get education loan. Getting education loan is very simple these days, and whatever the amount of fee that you have a range of universities. You can apply for 10 lakh universities, 20 lakh universities, or 50 lakh universities. But whatever it is, you are going to get complete education loan, and you can pay off your education loan in 1 year after you get a job. And then we do visa assistance, mock visa interviews, and then connecting with the university alumni. So now you might ask why we should join Game of Visas. So the answer is we have 90% success rate, 99% success rate. And these are all the destinations that we guide the students to. So we guide students to any country that you want to go. So now it is not just USA. We guide to UK, Germany, Australia, Canada. So we guide students to all the countries. We work with all the destinations. And if you are interested in going abroad, you have to just drop us a message on this WhatsApp number 9494 555 454. Okay, thank you.